justice. Without further ado, please welcome our MC for today, Peggy Schimmelman.
Thank you, Paul. And I'd like to formally thank Paul and the library staff, Renee, and also their social media people who've done a great job of helping us promote this. They always do. So I'm thanking them in advance because sometimes they're on after at the very end. They have to be early. So anyway, so let's thank them. So welcome to the fourth presentation of Verse on the Vine. This is an event that we offer in the tradition of the old Ravenswood poetry series that was started by Connie Post in 2006 and continued by all the subsequent poet laureates, Cher Waller, Kevin Gunn, and Cynthia Patton. This series features poets from the Bay Area and beyond. Today we have two outstanding poets that I feel very fortunate to have found and brought in today. This is Naomi Quiñonez and Rafael Jesús Garcia. Following the featured poets,
González.
big typo. Sorry. The other poet that was going to read with you was named Garcia, right? He was. I'm so sorry. Thank you for correcting me. It is Rafael Jesús González. And following our featured poets, we will have a brief intermission during which you may enjoy refreshments, meet the poets, and purchase books to be signed by the poets, if you so desire. Books will also be available after the event. Following the intermission, we will have an open poetry mic. If you haven't signed up for that, please do that at the book sales table, as Paul said. And you can sign up also to receive the Poet Laureate monthly newsletter to be notified of upcoming events. Before we start, I already thanked Paul for setting up the room, so we are going to go ahead and start. Our first poet today will be Naomi Quiñonez. Naomi Helena Quiñonez is a poet, educator, and activist. She's the author of 3 collections of poetry: Hummingbird Dream, Sueño de Colibri, The Smoking Mirror, and Exiled Moon. She edited several critical and literary publications, including Invocation LA, Urban Multicultural Poetry, which won the American Book Award, Decolonial Voices and Caminos Magazine. Quiñonez co-founded the Bay Area Librotraficante Network, is a founding member of the Los Angeles Barrio Writers Workshop, and is on the board of directors at Circulo de Poetas and Writers. She offers poetry workshops in the Bay Area, including the Oakland Women's Cancer Resource Center and New Moon writing workshops for Bay Area women of color. In addition to holding a Ph.D. in American history and contributing to the scholarship of Latino and Latinas and women of color, Quiñonez is part of a larger genre of U.S. writers of color and has appeared in programs with Quincy Troupe, Octavia Butler, and Luis Rodriguez. Her work has appeared in many publications, including Colorado Review, Infinite Divisions, Voices of Our Ancestors, and Maestrapeace. She's a recipient of the Berkeley Lifetime Achievement Award, the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts Award, a Rockefeller Fellowship, the American Book Award, and a California Arts Grant. She is featured in Notable Hispanic Women and the Dictionary of Literary Biography. Please welcome Naomi Quiñonez.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Peggy, Paul, and the Livermore Library for this series, wonderful series. And also, I'd like to welcome you all to this event, which is pretty much predicated on the Latino Heritage Month. So I would just like to say a few words about that. First of all, it's great to get a month out of the year to be a focus for a while. And one of the reasons I appreciate this month is that it does bring to light what the accomplishments are and the struggles for social justice by Mexican Americans, Central Americans, Latinos and Latinas throughout the continent. We are one of the largest populations in California, the largest ethnic population in California, and also in Texas and Arizona, and by 2050, we will be one of the largest ethnic groups in the United States. So it's really a honor to be part of this population of people that have contributed so much to our society and continue on with the struggle for social justice. So I'm going to start off with a couple of poems from one of my earlier books called Sueño de Colibri. And when I was coming of age during the Chicano movement, I was very compelled and inspired to write some of this poetry. Learning about myself as a Chicana was not an easy thing because at that time the ethnic studies departments were just getting started and we were just basically getting our curriculums together. So these few poems were part of my coming of age as a Chicana, which by the way I define as a Mexican origin woman who is involved in social justice movements for not only that particular ethnic group, but for women as well. Anima. The fog in my mirror slowly unveils a woman of bronze, earth, and fire. The clouding of mystery, a shrouded face, breast that Picasso had seen and painted, an eye, dark as shadows that bury the temples deep in the image of reflected haze. Still wet from waters of Azteca baptismals, an ancient face lingers at the edge of my soul. Suspended in time, I wait in suspense for the mirror to reveal a forgotten woman, and slowly the cheekbones of India take form. Rough-hewn foreheads, lips full and quiet, two eyes turn inward to see what is born. Hair black as ashes of Wednesday's grim morning falls on the shoulders that carried bronze babies, infants in arms that buried fierce warriors with hands stained and bloody that reach to the gods. Long broken fingernails that clawed at the land and trapped there forever the clay, the sand. Earthen face, color of fire, burns in the memory of Coatlicue, burns into flame and singes the hair of my nostrils, the nose of a conquering Spaniard. I breathe in the smoke, it changes to incense. Cathedrals are filled with Indian perfumes. New names, old gods, my eyelids are heavy. The saints on the altar all turn to jaguars. The dove Holy Spirit is Quetzalcoatl. I open my eyes, the mirror is clouded from ages of living, breathing, and dying. Eyes hollow sockets, loins dry as bone, but my soul, strong and fertile, will give birth to my children. This next poem is dedicated to my grandmother, Aurora, who was a migrant immigrant from Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. She came to the United States as a sola, by herself with her family, and worked as a domestic worker for many years, as a seamstress. And by the time World War II came along, she was able to save money by working in the defense plants. So this is for Bora, who I knew her as. Her name was Aurora, which means dawn. Dawn. The Mexican Revolution and Aurora Maldonado were born in the same breath. The years of Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, and agrarian reforms were also the years of the third child in a family of 12, but this would not last. When Aurora's mother and father died in some unknown, rather be forgotten way, she became the parents of 11 children. Life in northern Mexico was hazardous at that time. The country was unstable, weak with pains of reformation, political upheaval, and domestic untranquility. Though the Mormon colony in Chihuahua provided a separate peace from political affairs temporarily, mere survival was hard enough. Political aggression was at their heels. And America sang its freedom song loud enough to reach the ears of Aurora. 11 children wanted to sing. She wanted to sing too. She was content to hum. And Aurora, by the time Aurora reached the Texas territory of the rich and prosperous United States of America, she was married. Half her brothers and sisters had gone their own way. Children, if they ever had a childhood, grew up faster in those times. After all, Aurora was a woman of 14. She needed someone to care for and care for her. It was time to live her own life. The Depression swept America off its feet, and Aurora had her second child. Bread lines, floor scrubbing an occasional dollar from a sometimes home husband, and the family survived. By the time Aurora had her third child, her husband left the family forever, but the depression would not leave. Survival for Aurora and 3 children, all girls, would not be easy, but nothing had been easy for her. Roman Catholic Church, God, and all the angels and saints helped her, she claims. Where would I have gotten the strength? Where did a mother of 3 who spoke so little English find a job in America during the Depression? But Aurora washed floors, scrubbed walls, painted ceilings, and Aurora fixed pipes, cleaned ovens, washed laundry, home after home, day after day, bearing seemingly arthritic hands that were not arthritic, lifted furniture, carried crates, and her strength grew not in the muscles of her arms, but in her mind. Aurora was strict and firm and very Catholic. Her children were disciplined to accept the depression and the absence of a mother. 70 hours a week of her work got them through. After the depression, the town of El Paso became more comfortable and Aurora remarried. She thought she needed a man. All he gave me was problems, she said. I need strength, not problems, but I find out I got enough strength of my own. Aurora divorced her second husband during the Second World War. Aurora watched her children marry and her grand and great-grandchildren grow. Her life has been a tapestry of God, superstition, agony, and love. You can see her now saying her prayers to St. Anthony in her house on a hill in Los Angeles. She prays for me, her misguided grandchild who goes so far away from home. And when I see her, her faded gray eyes will give me a worried smile, and she'll ask, ¿Por qué quieres ir tan lejos de tu casa, mija? Why do you want to go so far away from home? And then she'll remind her grandchild, Hija, you're just a child. What do you know about life? It's hard for a woman, real hard. I don't know why God made women anyhow, just to suffer. And I'll reply that I know this, but I think she forgets sometimes about her life and what a woman is capable of. In those days, women were encouraged to have large families, and my grandmother didn't. And one time, many years ago, I was in LA, and the Pope came to visit. And one of the things he said on television was that women should have as many children as they can. So I went to my grandmother and I said, Bora, the Pope says that women should have as many children as they can. How come you only have 3? And she said, Pope no have kids, the Pope no tell me how many kids I have. My first feminist upbringing there. And just one more from this earlier work here, Trilogy. At the time I wrote this, I don't know if some of you remember, but all of the hurricanes were named after women, right? So I asked my science teacher, why are the hurricanes named after women? And he said, because they're unpredictable and destructive. Okay. So I'm going to invoke three women icons, Eve, Malinche, and Helen of Troy. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Unpredictable hurricanes, sources of destructive power. The ancients passed us the ashes of your vulvas, quietly contained them in earthen pots, golden chalices, and placed them undisturbed in coffins of dead women. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Why did civilization doomed to downfall blame a woman eating the fruit of knowledge from a forbidden tree? Would Eve knowingly embrace the pain of childbirth or the enmity of creation? Eve, Malinche, Helen. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Tu padre te llevó a la chingada. Often we uttered the atrocity of Malinche's sin as if she had no father who ingrained in her absolute obedience to men, as if he had not given her to Cortes. She obeyed him, obeyed her father, and gave him Mexico. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Eve, Malinche, Helen. The curse of your beauty is with us today, Helen. You have not been alone. Men have made themselves slaves to feminine beauty. You were just another wooden horse filled with desires to win wars. You were created for warriors, Helen, not love. Eve, Malinche, Helen. Eve, Malinche, Helen. And hurricanes and all other phenomenal powers which men cannot explain to justify their downfalls. Let your ashes fly into the wind. Perhaps today we can learn to accept ourselves. So I wrote that when there was literally no information about Marianali Tenepal. So I had to make a lot of this stuff up just to, just to get the feeling of this incredible woman who was blamed for the downfall of Mexico. If I had it to write, I'm reading from one of my first books, The Hummingbird Dream. I would probably rewrite it differently now. Okay. So a few poems from The Exiled Moon, which is here and for sale. One of the major issues that came up during the last administration, I think continues to be a problem, is the separation of families at the border, and just because of lack of will, I think, the inability for this our government to enact a humane immigration policy is hurting so many. So when the separation of families was happening, I wrote this. It reminded me of the Warsaw Ghetto when I was studying World War II, and how the Jewish families were left to rot in neighborhoods with people walking basically around them. This is called the New Warsaw Ghetto. The New Warsaw Ghetto is around the corner on the Texas-Mexico border, down the street on the California border, the Arizona border. Publicly financed, corporately owned, government-operated enclaves of despair. The New Warsaw Ghetto metastasizes in the not-so-good old USA, in detention camps, in cages, and isolated windowless prisons driven like spikes into the southern border. In the New Warsaw Ghetto, children are torn from their families and warehoused like animals shivering under aluminum covers or left to sleep on unforgiving streets. In the New Warsaw Ghetto, tear gas smothers and the feds demother thousands of refugee children. They are red meat for the haters, for men of means, and for mean men who follow the fascist rules of ethnic cleansing. The refugees are brown and must be kept out, must be kept down. The country is full, he says, as if it's a hotel. No room for you, even though this is their land too, their America. They have journeyed 3,000 miles to escape their failed states, a legacy of US interventions, banana republics, dirty wars, exported torture, exploitation, and control. They have entered into a mouth of hatred, a tight sphincter of hostility. In the new Warsaw Ghetto, families disintegrate, disappear, desaparecidos. To the haters I say, careful, lest you become a refugee of a fire, a flood, a mudslide, a drought, a tsunami, an earthquake, a tornado, a hurricane, a market crash, a massacre, a mortgage, a sinkhole, an eviction, a tyrant, a war. Careful, lest you become a refugee, forced to escape collapsing ports of entry from which there is no return. Careful, lest you become a refugee, desperate and stuck on an invented line, stranded on a slim island of terror, denied, denounced, dehumanized. Careful, we are all straddling thin, frayed edges, the uncertainty of madmen, of natural disasters, eminent domains, and rash developments of Warsaw ghettos. Soon we may all be on the move in search of a refuge from disintegrating societies, natural catastrophes, and from the paralyzing devastation of human love. Thank you. So I'm going to read a poem about one of my favorite diosas from the ancient tradition of the Nahuatl people. Her name is Goyalxauhqui. This is one image of Goyalxauhqui, and it's a prayer to her. Moon, goddess, woman, black, obscure, divine, occultress of night, mistress of light, unleashed into blue plate sky, offering of sugar flame and of thin smoke rising. Enter the gateway of flowing hair, portal of leaving. Enter and fill basket of fruit, glass of water, lake of light. Enter the circle, queen of night and of souls broken. Enter, creator of spirals and stardust. Provide me your power, my ancient song. Ceremonia, Goyalxauhqui. Diosa de luna, mujer, negro oscuro adivinar, ocultista de noche, amante de luz soltado en plato azul cielo, ofrenda de azúcar, fuego y de humo fino creciente, ingresar la salida de cabello suelto, portal de irse, entra y llena, canasta de fruta, vaso de agua, lago de luz. Ingresa el círculo, reina de rayos y de almas rotas. Entra, criadora de espirales y del polvo de estrellas. Dame tu poder, mi antigua canción. Thank you. This next one, and you can give me the sign anytime, Peggy, as far as, do I have 5 minutes? Okay, great. So I can do a few more. This one is for the Mujeres of Juarez. This is the femicide that is occurring not only in Mexico, but it's occurring here in the United States, the northern area where indigenous women are also disappearing and showing up basically dismembered, you know, in remote parts of the country or never found again. So this is called a thin line. It is a wide desert and a thin line, thin as ropes that bind the wrist of undernourished women. It is a vast plain of unmitigated history and a slim knife that cuts off the breasts of would-be mothers. It is a motherlode of corporate profit and a ribbon of bleeding throats. It is a mass grave of terror and rape and a small slice of our uncertain futures. It is large enough to hide the bones of suffocated women, but not quite enough to stifle their cries. Kill us when you can. Torture us when you can. Bury us if you can. But the spirits of women who die in battle will return as fierce hummingbirds, winged warriors of history, hovering memory of your forgotten humanity. A border is only an imaginary line. All hearts are the center of the universe. And I will end with this particular poem called Passages. And this is in honor of all the powerful, incredible mujeres, women that I know. Some are right here in this room. There are passages of history written by women with pens and paint, with scars and blood and beating hearts, wolf mother locas who bay at the moon to receive the warrior's light, medicine mamas ready with remedies for bodies and minds and souls. A blood sunrise is tattooed on their hearts. There is thunder in their voices and lightning in their veins. Feet march, fists rise, ideas radiate. Divine feminine awakened ignites action, engenders genius, forges the infinite collaborations of culture, community, and survival. There are sisters who bear burdens and beauty, who birth children and ideas, wounded warriors who seek to heal and yearn to restore planetary balance and to be in alignment with Earth, with moon, with sun, with self, with each other. Time slows, eyes close, palms meet, thoughts surrender to the eternity of breath that merges with the divine. La Diosa is in the house. Kuan Yin, Koil Shauki, and Oba dance in Oshun's river tempos. Shiva spins oldies and Kali falls into the salty arms of Jemaya on a delicious full moon night. The goddess is present in the words of Rigoberta Menchú, in the passion of Lolita Lebron, in the love of Audre Lorde. La Diosa is well and kicking and ready to inhabit hearts, expand minds, lift spirits, renew societies. Receive the maguey plant offering, the gift of golden corn. Drink the rising waters and calm the shaking earth. Write the passages she longs for with your joy and with your tears. Satisfy your soul, stand in the power of the sacred feminine, and be the evolution. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Such powerful images, and so well said. The lyrics were just gorgeous, and the emotion was wonderful. Loved it. Our next featured poet today is Rafael Jesús González. He was born in the bicultural, bilingual setting of El Paso, Texas, Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, and taught at various universities before settling at Laney College in Oakland, where he founded the Mexican and Latin American Studies Department in 1969. He was poet in residence at the Oakland Museum of California and the Oakland Public Library. Also a visual artist, he has exhibited at the Oakland Museum, the Mexican Museum of San Francisco, and various galleries in the US and Mexico. 4 times nominated for a Pushcart Prize, he was honored by the National Council of Teachers of English for his writing in 2003. In 2013, he received a Cesar y Chavez Lifetime Award And in 2015, the city of Berkeley also honored him with a Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2017, he was named the first Poet Laureate of Berkeley. Please welcome Rafael Jesús González.
Buenas tardes todos. Good afternoon. At the risk of setting fire to the library, as was the fate of the Library of Alexandria, my habit is that when I start my readings, I burn a little copal, or sage, or sweet grass, or whatever fragrant smoke is at my disposal, to invoke the gods, the goddesses, that what I say may speak truth, and if not, it is by mistake and not intent. It was the custom of my ancestors of the Central Plateau of Mexico to burn copal or sage, artemisia, to evoke the gods, because speaking in public was a sacred act. I think I would trust my politicians more if they burned a little sage before they spoke. As was said by Peggy, I was born and raised right at the border, the El Paso Juarez area. So consequently, I'm heir to two muses. One speaks Spanish and the other English. And consequently, all my work, or 99% of it, is in both languages. Because it is Hispanic Heritage Month, I'll begin with one poem entitled that. Mes de la herencia hispana. Hispanos nos llaman, latine, pero la raza somos. De sangre indígena de las Américas, europea por los españoles que nos conquistaron, africana por los esclavos traídos por la fuerza, asiáticos por inmigración de siglos. Y ahora vivimos en tierra indígena olone, española por conquista, mexicana por independencia, estadounidense otra vez por conquista. Somos la raza cósmica, raza de bronce, y nos nombran hispanos por la lengua que se nos impuso por conquista. Venimos de muchas tierras destruidas, empobrecidas, hechas violentas por la política de este actual imperio, del cual, irónicamente, pedimos asilo. Y se nos desprecia, se nos persigue, se nos tortura arrancándonos los hijos de los brazos, poniéndonos en jaulas separadas. Nos nombran hispanos, sabiendo que somos tanto de sangre indígena, africana, asiática. Y por eso los codiciosos y crueles racistas nos persiguen. La raza cósmica de bronce, rica en dones de historia y de cultura, de arte y de canto, de tanto color, de tanto corazón, de tanto sufrir y de tanta esperanza. La raza somos y siempre lo seremos. Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic, they call us Latino, but we are la raza, of indigenous blood of the Americas, European of the Spaniards who conquered us, African of the slaves brought here by force, Asian of the migrations of centuries. And now we live on indigenous Ohlone land, Spanish by conquest, Mexican by independence, United States again by conquest. We are the cosmic race, the race of bronze, and they call us Hispanic for the tongue imposed upon us by conquest. We come from many lands destroyed, impoverished, made violent by the policies of the current empire, of which, ironically, we seek asylum. And we are despised, persecuted, tortured, tearing our children from our arms, putting us in separate cages. They call us Hispanic, knowing that we are as much indigenous, African, Asian blood. And for that, the greedy and cruel racist persecute us. The cosmic race of bronze, rich in gifts of history and culture, of art, of song, of so much color, and of so much heart, of so much suffering, and of so much hope. La raza we are and will always be. The next selections I will share with you are from my book, Chachihuichotes, Flor de Piedra Verde, Flower of Jade. And they are poems that I have written in the Nahua mode, trying to, in Spanish and English, capture the flavor of the ancient literature of pre-Hispanic Mexico. A very, very rich tradition that was codified in the Latin alphabet by Fray Bernardino de Sahagún, a graduate of the University of Salamanca, who came with the conquering forces of the Spaniards, los Gachupines, they call them. And he interviewed the surviving elders and wise people, men and women, of the conquered empire of Tenochtitlan. Of the books that he brought together, we say, that he compiled with the interview of the elders, exists in what we call the Florentine Codex, because the dukes of Tuscany, the dukes of Florence, ended up with the manuscript. And in my studies, the book of that copious work that the most attracted me was the book of the definition of the earthly things. It's a kind of dictionary of the knowledge of the world. And a lot of my works in the Now Mode is based upon that. So a lot of what you'll hear are definitions. And I thought it would be appropriate to start with the definition of poetry. A work that is known as Ars Poetica. Insocit inquical, floricanto, arte poético. En el Arnamo antiguo se dijo que lo más precioso, lo que más perdura, es la palabra florida. Sin flor y canto, el corazón duerme. Sin sueño de palabra, amaneces sin arcoíris en el cuarto. Los cristales fríos y mudos. Las paredes sin ecos de colores. Si no amamos y no cantamos, si no venenamos la vida y la tierra, corremos peligro. La primavera será callada, muda, sin el cantar de pájaros, sorda, sin el aleteo de mariposas, ciega, sin el color de las flores. Amar y cantar, que de nuestro canto depende todo. Insocit inquicat, flower and song, ars poetica. In ancient Anahuac, it was said that what is most precious, what most endures, is the flowering word. Without flower and song, the heart sleeps. Without the dream of a word, dawns without rainbows in the room, the crystals cold and mute, the walls without echoes of color. And if we do not love and sing it, if we do not venerate life and the earth, we run danger. Spring will be silent, mute, without the singing of birds. Death, without the flutter of butterflies. Blind, without the color of flowers. Love and sing it, for on our song all depends. Kali, casa. Did I get myself all discombobulated here in my markers? It seems so. Kali, casa. Este espacio labrado. Se define el espacio. Gruñe, canturrea, canta, calla. Nuestros corazones, fugaces como las flores, les envidian raíces. En una casa pretendemos raíces. Decimos, en este espacio vivimos. Aquí habita nuestro dormir. Teme la casa que gruña, te devorará vivo. Si no encuentras casa que cante, encuentra casa que canturree. Una casa callada se tiene que enseñar a cantar. Es difícil labor. Uno se tiene que ser seguro, que sea maestro del canto. Solamente con un corazón de jade podemos enseñar a nuestros espacios cantar. Cali House. It is of carved space. Space is defined. It snarls, it hums, it sings, it is silent. Our hearts, ephemeral as the flowers, envy them roots. In a house, we pretend to roots. We say, in this space we live. Here, our sleeping is housed. Beware the house that snarls. It will devour you alive. If you cannot find a house that sings, find one that hums. A house that is silent must be taught to sing. It is a difficult task. One must be certain he is a master of song. Only with a heart of jade can we teach our spaces to sing. There's an irony to this poem, taking into consideration that it was written almost exactly 50 years ago, when I acquired the house in which I've lived for 50 years. I think it is ironic because many of us are homeless. It is ironic because we have not honored our spaces. We have not honored the one and truly home we have, the earth itself. We have violated it. We have abused our mother, of whose flesh and bone we are. And she is fast becoming incapable of prolonging human life. If we do not learn to honor our spaces and to venerate the mother and to venerate life, we will not be here long. And we have yet many songs to sing and many dances to dance. Another very important lloró el corazón. La piedra que late es perfecta. Nada se mide. Se dice amo. Nada importa. Las flores perduran aun cuando marchitan. El canto es eterno. El canto bendita. El todo. La nada, el sí, el nunca, el tal vez. La mano llama, las plumas fragmentan la luz y la luz define las plumas. El caracol es un hueco infinito, suena su canto lleno de silencio, un eco pleno de copal. En el rostro se justifica lo posible. En el corazón se ahoga lo concreto. Y allá, en el horizonte, se pierde el encuentro. Se pierde el encuentro y voltea la luz. Your little heart, the stone that beats, is perfect. Nothing is measured. One says, I love. Nothing matters. The flowers last even as they wilt. Song is eternal. Song vindicates everything. Nothing, yes, never, perhaps. The hand calls. The plumes fragment the light, and the light defines the plumes. The sea snail is an infinite void. He sounds a song full of silence, an echo full of copal. In the face is justified what is possible. In the heart, what is concrete drowns. And there in the horizon, the finding is lost. The finding is lost, and the light turns round, turns round. The heart was, for the now, was the center of consciousness. And it was said that the heart that became jade was a heart to reach perfection. It was the heart that was made God and deified things, deified the earth. Let me be very frank with you and tell you that we need a revolution. We need the revolution, not tomorrow, but now. And it has to be a revolution of consciousness. It has to be a revolution of the heart. Because it is from lack of consciousness and lack of heart that we find ourselves in this precipice on the verge of extinction. And if we do not make a revolution and learn what we have not yet fully learned in the relatively short time that we have, we are in a bad way. I will finish with two more poems, short ones. Scently, Maíz. El maíz, dicen los abuelos, las abuelas, brota en flor modesta y humilde. Luego, su borla roja, penacho de plumas. En su madurez, la mazorca es de granos de oro, cuentas de piedra verde. Pulsera de cian, preciosa, nuestra carne, nuestros huesos. Sabían los ancianos, ancianas, lo sabemos nosotros. Ahora, cuando brujos de mala fe, de visión equivocada, impulsados por la codicia, envenenan la semilla sagrada con esencia de alacrán y hace hierba la milpa. Despertemos, sublevémonos, hijos, hijas del maíz. Basta de brujos y embusteros. Es nuestra vida que defendemos. Nuestro sustento, nuestro santo maíz. Settly, corn. Corn, say the grandfathers, the grandmothers, blooms in a modest, humble flower. Then its red tassel, headdress of plumes. In its ripeness, the corn cob is of grains of gold, beads of green stone. Bracelet, they said, precious, our flesh, our bones. The ancients knew it, we know it, when sorcerers of bad faith, of mistaken vision, driven by greed, poison the sacred seed with the essence of scorpion and make waste the cornfield. Let us awake. Let us rebel, sons and daughters of the corn. Enough of sorcerers and cheats. It is our lives that we defend, our sustenance, our holy corn. Of the many gifts that Mexico gave the world, one of the major ones is the sacred corn. Now, the corn has been poisoned by the modern sorcerers, by the modification of its molecular structure. To an extent that he has created poverty in the world, where farmers have to pay extravagant price for the seeds of Monsanto and its like. And that is blasphemy, and that is arrogance, and that's the arrogance of capitalism. Let's name it for what it is, that the earth cannot sustain, and then we must bring to an end the soonest possible. Flor y canto para nuestros tiempos. La flor y canto que nos llega es desarraigado. Se marchitan las flores, se desmorona el oro, se quiebra el jade. No importa que tan denso el humo de copal, cuántos los corazones ofrendados, se desarraigan los mitos, mueren los dioses. Tratamos de salvarlos de las aguas oscuras del pasado con anzuelos frágiles, forjados de imaginación y anhelo. Dentro llevamos voces mixtas, abuelas, abuelos, conquistadores y conquistados, nuestro legado. De él tenemos que escoger lo preciso, lo negro, lo rojo, cultivar nuestras propias flores, cantar nuestros propios cantos, recoger plumas nuevas para adornarnos, oro para formarnos el rostro, buscar jade para labrarnos el corazón. Solo así crearemos el mundo nuevo. Flower and song for our times. The flower and song that comes to us is uprooted. Flowers wither, feathers tear, gold crumbles, jade breaks. It matters not how thick the incense smoke, how many the hearts offered. Myths are uprooted, the gods die. We try to save them from the dark waters of the past with fragile hooks, forged of imagination and longing. Within, we carry mixed voices, grandmothers, grandfathers, conquered and conquerors, our legacy. From it, we have to choose the necessary, the black and the red. Grow our own flowers, sing our own songs, gather new feathers to adorn ourselves, discover new gold to form our face, seek jade to carve our hearts. Only thus can we create the new world. And it's the new world that we have to create, because the old world that we have created does not serve us well. We have to create the new world by the revolution that we must be and make. That revolution that I spoke about of the heart and consciousness. For only then can we make a new world that fits well into the earth that birthed us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. That was wonderful. I always like poetry that teaches me something. You know, this was educational and inspiring, thought-provoking, as well as beautifully written. What a gift to be able to write poetry in 2 languages and to do it so effectively in both. So I would like to, we're going to have an intermission now, followed by open mic. But before we do that, I'd just like one more round of applause for both our poets. So if you want to participate in the open mic and you haven't signed up, please do that.
Where's that?
There's a table back there. The intermission, but we are going to need to start our open mic in order to finish and get out here in a reasonable time.
And I have to ask all the participants in the open mic to keep it brief. 3 minutes would be ideal. You can do that. Just like a couple of short poems, or a couple of long poems, or a few short ones. I may not read after hearing the 2 featured speakers. Well, I don't know. Anyway, so first, you're welcome to take food to your chairs and eat while you enjoy the open mic. So first on our list, the sign-up, is Cher Wallard. Are you ready, Cher?
Yeah, just rearranging.
Okay. Yeah, you got. Yeah, read the short ones.
And they're all like, okay, we'll sit in the back here.
Nice to see so many folks here today. Well, our featured readers have inspired me, so this poem is about my grandparents. Leaving Beit Shabeb. They sent his brother first, America, with its gold-gilt streets, to bring back dowries for his sisters. 5 girls, each with those unsettling pale eyes, legacy of some crusader centuries before. They took half of all they had to pay his passage. What else could they do? Weeks, months, a whole year, no word, not one letter. So they sent the younger son, my grandfather, Exiled, to bring back his brother, the dowries, any gold he could carry. Well, you know how this went. Here am I, second generation, born in the USA. He married a girl from the next town over. Every morning they gave thanks for their many blessings. At night, lamented all they had left behind. Often he told his son, when we return, I will show you mountains whose beauty will pierce your heart. My light-eyed grandchildren have never seen such mountains, nor the cedar pews he built for the little church in the village of Beit Shabab. Their lips cannot even make the sound of its name. And I wanted to mention, in addition to being Hispanic Heritage Month, October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as you probably know. So this poem is written in memory of a dear friend of mine. It's a world unfamiliar to me. This careful counting out of pills, for example, influx of liquids jolt through tender cells. When I saw her so thin, pale, skin pale with surrender, soft hair wisping the way spent dandelions drift in the air, I realized I have no idea what it means to wake each morning with my day lined up on the bathroom counter beside a glass of still water. Thank you.
Next is Daniela. 3 minutes.
Okay, so mine is not topical. I wrote this a couple of years ago, and I think a few of you have heard it, yeah, it's called The Scooby-Doo Candle. Scooby-Doo sits upright. His paws encircle a triple-decker hamburger with a candle wick on top. Scooby-Doo's head is not attached to the rest of the candle and is missing a wax ear. Scooby-Doo had survived multiple birthday parties by 2003, the year he was hurled to the floor and broke his neck. He was sitting on top of a chocolate cake made from a mix and hidden in a corner of the kitchen by a 7th grade girl who wanted to surprise her father on his birthday. Scooby-Doo waited to make his appearance while the family consumed the girl's homemade spaghetti dinner. Her father didn't join the chorus of appreciation for reasons unclear. He remained quiet until a spat arose, between the girl and her little brother, involving the sprinkling of grated Parmesan cheese into each other's drinking glasses. Suddenly, her father roared to life, and it was to take the side of her little brother. The girl sent her chair flying back and stormed into the kitchen, and there was Scooby-Doo, a symbol of her efforts. The pieces of Scooby-Doo, washed and saved in a plastic bag, a head with googly eyes, a goofy grin, and one ear. A headless body flanking a giant hamburger. Now a family totem.
Well, I'm mainly here to honor one of the poets that read today, because the last time I saw him in person was 10 years ago this month, remarkably, working on a clean energy project. But I'm going to start because I'm supposed to read a little poetry, and I'll just share one of my new muses, who is a singer, but also obviously a poet, Taylor Swift. I never thought I'd be a Swiftie, but I am. And the tail end of her song, Daylight, ends very quietly. I always have to turn up the volume when I'm playing it in the radio, on my radio in the car. And it's, you are what you love. I love, as a reminder that what you do is usually what you are, and that you do what you love. So this brings me to honor Rafael. He honored the food, the group of us that were meeting in downtown Oakland for a clean energy conference. I believe it was a conference. And it was basically the beginning of a gathering, a lot of us that helped move renewable energy around the Bay Area. And I was there to move it in Contra Costa, because I lived in Contra Costa. So I was able to meet people there, but I was really struck by Rafael's poetry, and he wrote a poem honoring our food, which I thought was so meaningful, that we were doing the good work, and he wanted to honor the food we were eating that day. So, a nice big loop, because I feel like I'm one of his foot soldiers for his revolution. And interestingly enough, my husband was a partner in all this. I needed a caregiver. I lost him a few years ago. My caregiver is a wonderful Latina woman, and she helped me design some product that we are distributing to share our word. We run a nonprofit, helping people, encourage them with more what we call livable planet practices. Other people will call them sustainable practices, but we think people, their eyes glaze over when they hear the word sustainable. When you hear livable planet, oh, that's different. Of course we want a livable planet. So, and also learning the history from Peggy about Rafael's background, that he was at Laney College in '69. Well, I was in Philadelphia as a high schooler back then, but I moved to the Bay Area with my husband in my 20s. By 1983, I had graduated from the Laney College Video Production Company, or department. I got my AA degree after already having had a master's degree. You can do these things, you know. And so I'm actually now using those skills to put together a documentary focused on this work, on trying to empower fellow citizens across the world that can start here in the country. And one of our emphasis is going to be on heat pumps. So I give you a piece of poetry that will add song to your house. It'll heat and cool it without those fossil fuels. And that will be one of the focuses of the documentary we're working on. But I want to give Rafael and Naomi, Rafael gets to choose which container he wants first. This is a tumbler, it has a water theme and wind turbines, which I think is kind of cool. Obviously this is a very
water-themed one too, for cool water, or this is for warm drink. Oh, I thought you'd like this. So Naomi, you get the one you chose not to take. And then I'm going to give you each a hat.
Oh, cool.
And if you don't want to wear it as a hat, give it to somebody else who likes these kind of hats. So follow the science. It has our URL, which unfortunately is not functioning right now because of Vistaprint.
As long as it's not red.
Oh, yes, good point. So thank you both, namaste, for your good work.
Thank you.
And I will continue, I don't think I left anything here. I will continue my foot soldiering for you, Rafael.
Thank you. Marilyn. Marilyn Baxter.
Oops. A little taller than that. Okay, I have just a couple of haiku and a tanka. Wait a minute. Against a chain link, a bouquet of poppies wrapped in discarded plastic. Two small birds on a fence fly away to reflect blue off the sky. Wait, better the other way. A red Chinese fan, poised for the next movement on a mimosa tree. Let me see if I can remember this one right. A tanka, which is a Japanese love poem. Pure white petals, dipped in blood. Dulce olor de dolor, sweet scent of sorrow.
This poem I wrote last night, it's hasn't really got a title. I guess I would call it Body Double for starters here. For most of my life, I've worn size 10.5 shoes. Now that I'm older, I wear 12s. My feet are looking large, like a Mississippi River barge. I'm feeling like a clown clone without all the face paint. What the heck is going on? On a good day, I used to be 5'8". Now I'm under 5'7" and short-term shrinking. I'm heading the direction of the Wicked Witch of the West. My visions of verticality permanently suppressed. And believe it or not, my earlobes are lengthening. What's up with that? I'm beginning to resemble Dumbo's doppelganger. Speaking of my ears, what in the world is happening there? Last time I checked, I was harvesting hair. A strange place for fresh-grown follicles. I'm becoming a bundle of misplaced molecules. The factory warranty on my body is a mess. Chalk it all to weird science, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, I thought I would read 2 poems about the library since we're at the library. But anyway, these are also about my daughter. How to explain a library. As always, you abandon the cross-legged children, gravitate to a video kiosk, snicker at animation while bouncing in a chair. Everyone stares. Toddlers, women cuddling babies, volunteers. Some shame radiates down each of my limbs. You're twice their age. Easier to focus on missed milestones, behavior modification, than what a library does or means to me. Story time ends. The children slip out while you flap and twitch, run laps around low-slung tables. Mothers frown, judgment etched on flawless faces I pretend to ignore. A rare grin grows, shoulders inch lower, no meltdown today. Hoping to salvage some kernel of progress, I search for a book as you study the carpet. It's difficult to identify topics of interest, to know what you know. You glance at 3, so we check them out. One about naughty wild boars that I will eventually buy, memorize, just to hear you laugh about burps and bad manners, destruction and Doris, who is naughtier by far than Boris, Morris, or even Horace. Recite wicked words, strange soothing lullaby, your voice echoing mine. Okay, one more about the library. Again, we visit the library. Every time I take her, long to describe the card catalog, narrow drawers, dull brass pulls, yellowed files, dewy decimal system, wood rubbed smooth by countless hands. At her age, I'd clutch a stubby pencil, transcribe orderly numbers and letters to a well-used index card, wander the stacks, make serendipitous finds. It's all gone. No manila pockets with strings of multicolored dates, strange calculus of popularity and history. No encyclopedias with their glossy photos. No thesaurus with its tiny tabs. At her age, loved the scent of ink and paper, the hushed reverence, the freedom to explore. Wanted my daughter to feast on that freedom, nibble its treats, delve into delicacies developed for a still pliant palate. At her age, the card catalog was a country, a continent of possibility. Plunged into the unknown, a sailor who steered by the stars. Now scratch for entrance to her secret garden, fingernails rough with effort. It's strange. I think in language. She thinks in pictures, music, and color. Each of us an immigrant in the other's native land.
Connie quote.
Thank you, Peggy, for this wonderful program. I wanted to read from my book, Broken Metronome, and I wanted to just briefly announce that this week, this book was the winner of the American Fiction Award in Poetry, and then it was also named a distinguished favorite in the New York City Big Book Awards, so I'm having a happy week. And the reason it's so important to me is that my brother died at 59 of Parkinson's in a very terrible way, and this book is to honor him. So I'll just read 2 not long ones. Searching. Scientists search for a cause. All I can do is comb the literature like a student cramming for exams, trying to map the way back to your first symptom. How can we know what decisions a body will make for us? How can we know how long a mutation will keep a secret? How can we know where your mind is when you no longer speak? All I can do is hold on to the memory of your hand in mine when we first went to Sunday school and believed in everything. Thank you. This next one, my brother and I were very close in age, all of us were, but we fought the most. We were the most combative. I was the 4th girl and he was the last and he was the boy. So this is a memory of our time playing chess. The last time we played chess, I threw a rook at you before I stomped out of the room. We were teenagers. Now that you are gone, I can't stop thinking about your quiet approach, placing each pawn out one by one. I watched your fingers lightly touch the chess pieces, showing how you understood the intricate balance and the power of the board. I think of your fingers in the last years of your life, clinging onto the bed rails, how I placed your hands gently on your blanket after you'd gone to sleep. How could we have known then that death had its own strategy? How could I have known how regret jumps over everything like the knights on the board? I no longer play the game. I am no longer willing to glue together broken bishops and bereft kings. I fold the chessboard the way I sometimes close a book before it's over, dog-earing the pages as if I'll remember the way back.
I'm sorry. My book disappeared from here that I was going to read from. Oh, here's
Is it
one.
tic-tac?
This is convenient. Yeah, but I had another poem in there I wanted to read that was tucked inside. I must have moved it somewhere. I know which one I'm going to read and I can find it quickly. This is called The Season of Aggrievement. It was written in 2017 after a bad weather year, but it seems appropriate to read it now after the year we've had. Mother was a bitch all summer. Helpless, we fled for shelter as she roiled like a hurricane, an earthquake, a ravenous forest fire. Our prayers bounced off the ears of our fathers as she lashed out ferocious and spiteful, showing us who holds the power. Now, as she simmers in silence, might we please dispense with the name-calling, hair-pulling, face-scratching, familial tit-for-tat, while we pause to consider our mother's complaints, because sooner or later, she'll lose it again. And when she finally gets enough of our sass and neglect, oh brother, you betcha, there's gonna be worse hell to pay. And I think that I should just stop now because I think we need to be getting out of here. And I had a short one to read, but
No, go ahead.
I don't know where it went.
Oh,
That's possibly right here.
if you can find it.
It's fine, Paul.
I'm going to read this one because it's a good one to end on. I told you I did. I just wrote this last week. This is called On Love and Politics. Words you want to believe fall so easy on your ears. You could stand for hours mesmerized under a soothing shower of affirmation, your doubts scrubbed away along with a balanced perspective. Down the drain they swirl, so far from your sight you'll forget that you ever embraced them. And that's it. That concludes